Alright, everybody, good evening. I know this video is a little bit later than I usually put it out. Had a couple of things happen that pushed the schedule back just a bit, but we are good. And we are now taking a look at some notes that I wrote down when I watched some of Garret Greenfield's game tape. Now, once again, just to reiterate for anybody who hasn't seen the previous videos, the reason why I don't put clips on screen is because, well, last time I tried to do stuff like that, YouTube didn't appreciate it. And they didn't let me do it. They didn't even let me show the video. And I don't want to put a bunch of work into a video and then have no one be able to watch it. So we're just going to do it like this. I took notes from his game at Northern Iowa in 2022. This is 2022, which was one of his breakout years, relatively speaking, anyway. So I think we're fine there. But I couldn't find much from 2023. Most of what I found was from 2022. So I picked out this game, which ended up being a very good game. I think it was actually literally won at the buzzer by South Dakota State. So Northern Iowa, watching Greenfield in isolation in this game, the thing that really stood out to me, and this is something that I noted several times throughout this game, his run blocking is finesse. And that's not to say it's not effective, but the best way I can describe it is that he run blocks the same way he pass protects. He's not fiercely engaging with his man. He's not charging forward and throwing himself with a lot of force into his man. He's not trying to push him out of the hole. He just kind of starts doing patty cake with him to occupy him so he can't go make a play on the running back. It's kind of weird. It's not like the other offensive linemen that I've looked at in college football. It's almost like he doesn't totally trust himself to throw himself in there and throw like fierce run blocks and really just try to drive a defender out of the hole. But what he does is fairly effective. It's just kind of weird. He lets the defender engage with him and then kind of just steers him out of the hole rather than actually driving him back. So that's the best way I can put it. He run blocks the same way he pass protects. It works at South Dakota State. Don't know if it's going to work in the NFL. Shows movement skills coming up to second level to lay a block on a linebacker, and there were several plays in this game where he would come up out of his stance and run to the right, go left to right from left tackle, and hit a angle block on a linebacker. That was something that was kind of a big part of how they utilized him, and it was the main exhibition of his movement skills. So he looks okay in space. He can do it. He can hit the landmarks. He can get to his spot, and he can lay the block. He does look a little bit labored, which is something that I mentioned a little bit later here, but he can play at least somewhat in space. I didn't see any plays where he would run out in front of a screen pass or a bubble screen or anything like that, but there is definitely some stuff where he's climbing up to the second level. One play in the first quarter, he was moving out laterally to take on an edge rusher, and he straight up just fell down. Now, obviously, it's an accident, and it's not like anybody knocked him over. He just slipped. But it is kind of emblematic of what you see with him in general, where he is a player that is kind of struggling to stay balanced and stay upright when he's in the open field. So that's where the movement skills are lacking. And that can get better, but some people are just always going to be a little clumsy, so it's hard to know. All right. On the play where he fell down, though, it is worth noting that he still managed to like lunge out to the left, and he forced the edge to go wide enough to get past the pocket. So it's not like he gave up a pressure or anything. He was kind of able to throw his body out in front of the edge player so he couldn't get to the quarterback, so it still ended up working out okay. Routinely being used to go left to right and hitting linebacker on runs continues to be a part of their game plan. And generally speaking, his pass protection is very impressive. Very difficult to get around him as a pass rusher. He's able to just kind of stay in front. He's able to just kind of move his feet to stay in front, and you can't really get by him. He's, relative to the competition that he's playing, he's big. He's not going to be that big in the NFL, but he's a tough guy to get around at the level of South Dakota State playing Northern Iowa. There was one run blocking snap where he showed some aggression and I thought showed some initiative in engaging with his man. And I was like, okay, that looks like the kind of thing that might be more NFL run blocking types of things. But he ended up on the ground. He slipped off and ended up falling over. Again, it's obviously an accident. It's not like he got bullied. But again, we're seeing these plays where when he's trying to be the aggressor, he ends up getting off balance and he ends up on the ground, which is where you really don't want to be as an offensive lineman. Now, one thing that happened over and over in this game is that Northern Iowa would send blitzes to the left side of the offensive line for South Dakota State. And I thought that Greenfield and the guy to his left, which I believe was Mason McCormick, picking up those blitzes. They always knew which guy each guy was supposed to pick up. They knew how to respond to what the other one was doing. And I don't think they ever really let much of anything through. So a lot of blitzes, and they handled it. So that was one thing that stood out to me positively. He's got good cerebral awareness of what he's supposed to be doing when the defense is sending something more exotic. If he's got to pick up a blitzing linebacker or a blitzing defensive back, or if he's got to pick up the lineman and pass off the linebacker or defensive back to his teammate. It always seemed to work out well. So that was great. There were some goal line runs where he's just not generating very much movement, it feels like. Again, it kind of looks like he's pass blocking. And he's not pushing guys back. He's not opening up a hole at the line. And it's hard for them to pick up those crucial last couple yards at the goal line. So, again, you're seeing why he was considered a much better pass blocker than a run blocker. There was one run play up the gut, basically just a simple A-gap run, where he went so far inside, the defender got around to his outside, which normally wouldn't matter that much because the play's right up the gut. But Greenfield got caught so far inside, the defender was actually able to get involved in the play on the running back because he was able to loop around and so quickly get to him. So I think that's just an example of Greenfield being a little out of position and giving up way too much of the outside, thinking that, oh, it's not going to matter out there because the run play's going right up the middle, but it ended up mattering a little bit. Looks a little labored in space, but he manages to hit his landmarks on them. That's one thing I mentioned earlier. And I do think that he is showcasing the ability to do zone-based scheme stuff, and I would like to see more of that from him in the NFL. He might even be better at it than the gap stuff because of the way he run blocks. But it is a little bit labored. A little bit later, there's a nice run block rep where he blocks his initial man and then climbs up to block a linebacker. So he blocks two guys on the same play, and he shows awareness. He shows a desire to finish the play. So that was cool. He's able to muscle up and lead block for a run by getting the edge outside the play entirely, basically just driving him out of the play. More so just kind of like knocking him out of the play rather than like driving him back or anything like that. But you are starting to see some things that I think are a little bit better. Some things that are a little more encouraging than him just kind of passively standing there and letting the defender come to him. Nearly gives up a pressure by having a bad angle on the edge and letting go. It was kind of an odd-looking play where he initially engaged with his man fine, but he wasn't putting himself right between his man and the quarterback. So once the edge disengaged, he was able to just run past the tackle right for the quarterback. By tackle, of course, I mean Greenfield. And the pass got out so quickly, it wasn't a pressure. It's possible that Greenfield knew the pass was going to come out quickly, so therefore he just let his man go. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he just wanted to let his guy go so he would get upfield and be out of the play, and Greenfield could then climb up and maybe get involved in blocking somebody else. But I'm not sure exactly what the plan was there. In the middle of the third, he climbed out to the second level and lead blocked for a run play. So again, showing that mobility. I think that one thing that's happening with this South Dakota State tape is that Greenfield generally really does a good job in pass protection, and his quarterback will hang him out to dry a lot because he takes off and runs in unplanned ways. It's very, Russell Wilson-like. It's very Fran Tarkenton-like. It's very, Justin Fields-like. It's the unscripted stuff. And that hangs Greenfield out to dry because now he doesn't know where the quarterback is that he's trying to protect. So that makes him look bad on some plays, but I don't think he did anything wrong on those plays. One thing that happened near the end of this game, because it was actually tied with a minute left, 28-28, there was a 3rd and 3 where South Dakota State ran the ball, and I actually thought he did a really good job clearing out the edge and paving the way for the running back to pick up the first down. It was genuine strength. It was genuine run blocking that I thought I saw there. So I was actually pretty impressed with that. And it was one of the few times in this game I thought he was the aggressor and did so successfully. And it was on a game play that helped decide the game. Without that play, who knows what happens in the remainder of the fourth or overtime or whatever. So that was great. But overall, he just run blocks weird. That's the best way I can describe it. I stopped taking note of it eventually because it happens so often. Okay, so that's what I have for Greenfield. I just wanted to take a look at that one game and see what I came up with as I was writing things down. And I mean, it makes sense. It kind of matches expectations. So be seeing you guys later. Maybe another video later today, but if not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And go Hawks.